On this episode of Soldier Tech Battlefield, I'm going to be comparing the new Blackberry Z10 versus the iPhone 5. So let's go ahead and start the show. Hey, what's up guys? My name is Mark Watson, otherwise known as Soldier Knows Best, and I'm your host for Soldiers Tech Battlefield, a show where we take two products and compare them against each other and see which one's going to come out on top. Now for this episode, I have the brand new Blackberry Z10. I'm going to be pitting it against the iPhone 5. And now the categories for this battle are going to be design, hardware, cameras, software, and the price point. So it's going to start this battle with the design category. Both of these phones take two different approaches when it comes to the design. And the iPhone 5 has definitely a lot of sex appeal to it. It's a very nice, sexy device. It is thinner and lighter than the Blackberry Z10. And also too, it just has some very nice, rounded edges, and it really a phone that's going to stand out. But it's kind of a phone that I feel like I need to put a case on it just to protect it. And also too, the paint does chip on the black version, and it does get a little bit noticeable as you start to use the phone a little bit more. Then you move over to the Blackberry Z10. It's not as sexy as the iPhone 5, but it does still have a very nice appeal to it as well, and it just seems a lot more durable. And then when you hold it in your hand, it has a very nice feel to it because of the back has this rubber grip to it, so it feels very sturdy and solid in your hand. And then also too, you can take off the back cover and have access to the battery compartment. So if you want to have an extra battery while you're on the go, so you don't run out of juice, you can swap out the batteries. And then also too, has a micro SD card slot in the back as well, and you'll be able to upgrade your storage all the way up to 32 gigabytes. And so ultimately, because of all these things, I'm going to get a design category to the Blackberry Z10. And now let's move on to the hardware category. Now the iPhone 5, as far as its internals, does have a dual core processor that's clocked at 1.3 gigahertz, and it has 1 gigabyte of RAM, and it comes in 16, 32, and 64 gigabyte configurations. Whereas the Blackberry Z10 has a 1.5 gigahertz dual core processor, 2 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabytes of internal storage, but again, you do have the micro SD card slot. You can add an extra 32 gigabyte of storage there, and it also comes with NFC as well. And they both have LTE capabilities. But now when I did run a benchmarking test on both of these phones using Geekbench, I saw that the iPhone 5 was right there with the Blackberry Z10, and also bested it on a couple occasions. And now when it comes to the displays on these devices, the Blackberry Z10 has a 4.2 inch display that has a resolution of 1280 by 768 and has 356 ppi. And then you compare that to the iPhone 5, which has a 4-inch Retina display with a resolution of 1136 by 640 and has 326 ppi. And so on paper, the Z10 does beat out the iPhone 5, but in real world, the iPhone 5 does have a better display. You can tell that it is going to be brighter than the Z10. And also too, just take a look at the whites here. I just show you again my Geekbench results there. You can see the iPhone 5's whites are just better. And overall, the iPhone 5 produces more accurate colors when it comes to the display. But then again, when you take into account that the Blackberry Z10 does have a micro HDMI port, it's going to make it easy to hook it up to an external display, a removable battery, upgradable storage via the micro SD card slot, and NFC capabilities. It's kind of hard to go against it in the hardware category. I'm going to have to go with the Blackberry Z10 just for having more features than the iPhone 5 overall. And now let's move on to the camera category. Now both of these phones feature 8 megapixel rear facing cameras, and both of their front facing cameras can record 720p HD video. But when you start taking pictures and video, you'll see that the iPhone 5 does beat out the Blackberry Z10 in almost every single situation, from low light to nighttime to just in the middle of the day taking pictures. The iPhone 5 just does an overall better job than the Z10. But when it does come to the cameras, the Z10 does have some good stuff going for it in its software. It does have a cool time shift mode, which basically takes like a little video clip, but it allows you to actually choose a face and go back in time to pick the perfect face for that person. And you can change the individual faces to make the perfect picture, just in case somebody closed their eyes or something like that. And then after you take your picture, just editing, and then it has a lot of cool features. You can add different filters to it, just enhancing the quality of the picture. All that stuff in the software is pretty awesome to use, and just really makes the iOS camera software just look very outdated. But when it comes down to it, I'd rather have a really nice looking picture than having a picture that I need to go into the software and edit and add filters to it. So I'm gonna have to give the camera category to the iPhone 5 in this one. All right, now let's move on to the software category. Now, the Blackberry Z10 is running the new Blackberry 10 OS, and it has a lot of cool things going for it. Just the way you navigate around it is called Blackberry Flow. So basically, from your phone being locked, you can just swipe up from the bottom, it'll go ahead and unlock it. And now the way it handles notifications is definitely different from iOS. You swipe up from the bottom and you'll see on the left-hand side whether you have Twitter or Facebook notifications. Then you can swipe over to the right and you can go ahead and access the Blackberry Hub, which is going to be holding all of your notifications, waiting for you to interact with them. And then if you slide down from the top, you have access to some of the quick toggles as far as the Bluetooth and alarm and Wi-Fi settings and things like that. Now, the one really important thing with this Blackberry Z10 is that it does have the best virtual keyboard I've ever used on a cell phone. It's a keyboard that can predict what you're going to type, and as you can see here, as I'm typing on there, I'll have a word pop up over a letter, and I can just simply swipe up and I'll go ahead and automatically add that word to whatever I'm typing. And as you can see, the way you navigate around the new Blackberry 10 OS is a lot more flexible than the way you navigate on iOS. But what iOS has going for it is just, you know, things like AirPlay and things like Passbook, those things like that. And also the notification center has a lot more information going on there from stock and weather, and you can see a lot more information from your applications that send notifications to it. And then when it comes to the third-party software, there's really no equal. iOS has just way more applications in this app store than what is in the Blackberry world on the Blackberry Z10. Now, the Blackberry Z10 is really going to be made for people who want to be on the personal and corporate side as well, so it has a lot of those things. Again, this is really two totally different devices for two totally different people, but as far as what I feel is more well-rounded at the moment for most people, I'm gonna have to give this to the iPhone 5. And now moving on to the last category, and this is going to be the deciding category because we're tied at the moment, and this is going to be price point. Now, both of these phones are available for $199 on a 2-year contract with most major carriers, and this is going to be for 16 gigabytes of internal storage. Now, this is where things get pretty interesting because if you want to bump up the storage in the iPhone 5, since it doesn't have a micro SD card slot, that's going to cost you an extra $100 to go up to 32 gigabyte, and then it's going to be $399 if you're going to go up to 64 gigabytes of internal storage. Whereas on the Blackberry Z10, since it does have a micro SD card slot, you can buy a 16 gigabyte micro SD card for about 15 bucks online right now. So you're looking at going up to just $215 to go up to 32 gigabytes. So overall, in the grand scheme of things, the Z10 is going to be cheaper than the iPhone 5 once you look at all the different memory configurations. So this price category goes to the Z10. All right, so that wraps up this battle. And you see, we do have a winner. It's going to be the Blackberry Z10. Now, of course, some people may not have seen this coming, but I think that the Z10 at this moment, since it is coming, you know, about 5 or 6 months after the iPhone 5 has launched, is able to kind of match it on a lot of different things and also beat it, especially when it comes to the software. Now, the iPhone 5S will probably be out in a few months and may include some new software and some new hardware features, and I'll definitely revisit that battle at that time. But for right now, the Z10, just on paper and as far as specs and just overall performance, is right there with some of the top cell phones right now on the market. Now, personally, whether it's going to be the best one for you, definitely going to have to get your hands on it and use it yourself. And I'm not saying you probably want to switch from the iPhone over to the Z10, but I think it definitely is a worthy phone to definitely take a look at. So anyway, guys, it's been my battle here between the Blackberry Z10 and the iPhone 5. I want you to leave your comment down below. I'm expecting some pretty interesting comments. Anyway, guys, again, I will see you next week on Soldiers Tech Battlefield, and thanks for watching, and I will catch you later. Peace.